Is Donald Trump going to take a plea deal? Is there anything that's going to cause him to step out of the case? Some people have suggested that. We've played clips here of Rachel Maddow saying maybe the DOJ will offer Trump a plea deal. You know, he can bow out of the race, will forego any criminal charges, will let this whole thing just bygones be bygones, because we know that's really what they want. They don't want Trump to take power again because he's going to undo all of their big plans. And so Alina Habba, who is on Donald Trump's team, came out and she was speaking on the shows, hitting the media, and she's explaining to us Trump's mindset, what's going on inside the Trump arena.
Specific federal case with the indictment. Welcome to Fox News Sunday, Alina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
I'm going to start here. I know you've been with the president. What is his mood? I mean, a conviction here on any number or multiple of these charges could be decades in jail. Has that sunk in?
I don't think he's thinking of it that way, and I don't really think that's a realistic way to think about this case. He's done nothing wrong. He said that. This is completely politically motivated. It's election interference at its best by a political opponent. So his credit, and the world should understand, an indictment is a one-sided document. He has a defense. The defense is real. He had the Presidential Records Act, which only he has in play. Hillary Clinton didn't have that. Biden didn't have that. And we'll put that defense on. The team he's going to have will be strong and knows exactly what they're doing.
Is he going to press for that speedy trial? I mean, that's generally understood to be something to benefit the defendant. Or would he rather push this past the 24 election, which seems like a more likely time frame for this kind of federal case?
You know, that's a strategy question that I really can't answer. That would be internal.
She's not representing him on the criminal case. I would delay on this case. I would push it out far. I would push it out past the elections, and I would fight tooth and nail for every single stinking thing. And yeah, the defendant has the right to a speedy trial, but the defendant also has the right to discovery and to do your investigation under the confrontation clause. We have a right to do interviews and be able to present witnesses and all of our cross-examinations, and that takes a lot of preparation. So we want to make sure this is very thorough. We want to exhaust all of our appeals, anything that might need to be challenged. We're ready to go, and you delay. Part of the reason is, I think, because the government wants to get this done before to remove Trump from the playing field, and after the election, they are something. So the interests are aligned, I think, pre-election. Donald Trump has the capability now to make this election a referendum on the DOJ, the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI, and it's do or die. In other words, it reminds me of the Revolutionary War. The British came over and it was not as do or die of a situation for them. And one of the things we learned about in civics class is that the American colonists, right, it was their homes. If the British lost, they just went back to their homes. If the colonists lost, they lost everything. This is the situation for the Trump campaign. If DeSantis doesn't win, he can, lose and come back again, or any other candidate can. Trump, this is it. If Trump does not win this election, theoretically, he could be imprisoned, which is what they're asking for. So you're aligning now energy. You're aligning the defense with the political energy. And the defense ultimately might be the victory. Trump wins the election and he just walks right in and pardons himself. And so you keep that possibility open if the case is delayed. And I think that based on what we talked about in a previous segment, which is the timing of the federal courts, I don't think that they're going to be able to get it done before then. As a matter of course, Jack Smith is going to be really accelerating it, or trying to. And we'll know what Trump wants to do. If he wants to get a trial done and out of the way, that increases some additional liability because you might have sentencing.
We'll make that determination very soon, and he'll make that public when it's time.
Any chance that he would take a plea deal, especially if there is, he's got the state indictment in New York. He is facing another potential federal indictment on January 6 charges. You've got the Georgia special grand jury. Those indictments, if there are any, could come in August. Is there any thought of the president's mind? You plea some of this away. You got to focus on the campaign, which is in itself an exhausting, very consuming process.
No, I could never imagine. I know I would never advise that, especially when he's not done anything wrong. You take a plea deal to make something go away, that's an admission of guilt. He would never admit guilt because there was nothing wrong with declassifying documents, taking documents with you, negotiating with NARA. The only thing that was wrong was the raid on his home and the complete dual-tier system of justice that we're seeing here when the Biden family is being treated completely differently than the Trump family. So to plea is exactly what they would want, right? I mean, this is very simple. We saw Rachel Maddow say it on MSNBC or MSDNC as he calls it, maybe he would just say, I won't run for office and plea out that way. No way. It makes no sense. You plea when you've done something wrong or when you have no shot.
Yeah.
We have strong defenses.
Well, and we heard the president, former president, twice or multiple times yesterday in the speeches that he gave in Georgia and North Carolina say that he's not leaving the race no matter what. So again, this is uncharted territory, and it's a moment in America that's never happened before. So we will watch as this continues to proceed. But let's talk about a couple of the things in the indictment, as you say.
I think that is an important point. This is unprecedented, and we're going to hear a lot of people talking about that they've got this all figured out, that they know exactly how the mechanics of this thing are going to work. And I don't think that is accurate, because we're talking about new territory here. It's new precedent, and I would not be surprised if the Supreme Court gets involved in this soon, sooner rather than later, because of what happens, especially if we get multiple indictments, especially if DC decides to hold Trump in custody in pretrial detention or something like that.
This is a one-sided issue. What goes to the trial jury will be very different, and you will have an opportunity at defense then. One of the first points, and this actually comes from, they're quoting memorializations of one of the president's attorneys. They say that he had a number of conversations with them. I don't want people looking through my boxes, admitting that he knew that he had these boxes there and there was a subpoena in place. What happens if we just don't respond or don't play ball? Wouldn't it be better if we just told them we don't have anything here? I mean, one of the things he's accused of in this indictment.
Yeah, and this came up, and others have been criticizing Trump for this. And this is curious. I mean, I guess the alternative theory would be to just don't ask the question and to just delete it, or to just break the device with a hammer, or to just bleach bit it. Or in Trump's case, he could have thrown it in the shredder. They could have just shredded all the boxes, and they would have gotten away with it because of the Hillary Clinton standard or something like this. Now, this is also something that was breached, okay? They breached Trump's attorney-client privilege. He had that. They didn't do that for Hillary. What would Hillary's questions to her lawyers be if they breached her attorney-client privilege? We know that her lawyers lied to the FBI. We heard that from James Comey during his congressional testimony. So if Hillary's lawyers are liars, why didn't they breach her privilege? And why don't we get to look at all the questions that Hillary has ever asked her lawyers? Certainly that would be relevant, wouldn't it? But again, these are questions. Right? These are questions. I've had clients ask me some of the most ridiculous questions because they're allowed to ask questions. And it doesn't mean we pursue that course of action. Trump says, wouldn't it be better if we just told them we don't have anything? Well, maybe, but that would, not be advisable, Mr. President. And here's why. They probably know. Okay, we already told them this, right? They already know we have documents, so we can't tell them that. So it's kind of impossible. They would catch us. I go, oh yeah, okay. So you move on to the next thing. But it's just part of the conversation. You're allowed to talk about these things. They don't traditionally breach attorney-client privilege.
One of the things he's accused of in this indictment is of giving false statements and forcing other people, including legal members of his team, to give false statements.
Yeah. I think, I can't get into details on TV, obviously, but I can say that we saw a picture that's been widely publicized, right, of a box that's flipped over. What's in that box? Newspaper articles, pictures, things that are mementos, things that he has a right to take. So if I'm someone with documents that I have a right to have as the president who left the White House, do I want people rummaging through my personal items? No. So I think you have to remember, again, like I said, there's context to everything. That context will be brought out on defense.
And this is the box she's referencing. And my understanding is that the FBI or the DOJ, they actually redacted something in there, right? So this looks a lot more unintentional to me. But apparently there was a classified document that was in that batch. So this looks to me like somebody just gobbled up a bunch of stuff out of a bunch of drawers, threw it in a box. The box got weak, broke right there. The box fell over. Not great, not ideal, right? But a lot less intentional than literally a person setting up an email server, which is not just a trivial thing. It's a lot of work to set up an email. You got to connect the MX records and connect the tubes. It's a lot of tubes being connected. And so this is a big deal. Now, apparently this photograph was taken by Nauda. We don't know. Maybe somebody walked in there and dumped it over and then took a photograph of it.
We have not had an opportunity to give our side, and that's the image right there that I'm discussing. It's newspapers, it's pictures, it's mementos.
Let me also say what.
And there is a classified document in there, but that's not espionage. That's not Trump saying, I'm going to go take all these documents and then sell them to the Saudis.
The indictment also says in looking at that picture, it says they were spilled onto the storage room floor. They say in the indictment includes documents related secrets relative to USA, Five Eyes. which denoted the information in that document was releasable only to Five Eyes intelligence that consists of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, U.S., and the U.K. They say that's in part of those documents that have spilled out.
Well, first of all, I've never seen anything spilled out. I don't know if anybody's been to any of Donald Trump's clubs or residences, but he doesn't operate that way. So that may have been the way it was when they came. I don't know. I don't know when that picture was taken. I also don't know what was in the boxes before and after. There's a lot of questions here. What I can tell you is he has every right to have classified documents that he declassifies under the Presidential Records Act. So yes, they're making it sound like a five-alarm fire. It's not. It's a very simple thing that everybody, and we've seen numerous people, able to take it. And frankly, he was the only one that could take classified documents that he declassified under the Presidential Records Act. People forget that.
All right, Alina, thank you for your time. Of course, we will watch, as this is a very different proceeding once it goes to trial.
It is going to be fun to watch. Now, Trump confirmed this over on Politico. He tells us that he is not going anywhere. He says, look, even if I'm convicted, I'm staying in the race. I'll never leave. So that leads me to think that maybe they want to accelerate this trial. Maybe he does want to go to trial. I still doubt it. I don't think we're going to get a trial anytime soon. But he says, even if I'm convicted and in prison, I'm still running, baby. And of course, he can do that. He could win the presidency from prison and then pardon himself on day one. Trump vowed on Saturday to continue running for president, even if he were to be convicted, saying, I'll never leave. He was on his plane. He said, look, if I would have left, I would have left prior to the original race in 2016. That was a rough one. In theory, that was not doable. Trump is not legally prohibited from running for president from prison or as a convicted felon, but such a bid would nevertheless provide a massive stress test for the country's political and legal systems. A stress test, they call it. All right. The former president leveled harsh criticisms at special counsel Jack Smith. Yeah, a bunch of people will just, well, you know, it's a little bit of a problem that Trump's in prison, I guess. The former president leveled harsh criticisms at Jack Smith. He calls them thugs and degenerates. He sidestepped the possibility that he would pardon himself should he win the presidency. He says, I don't think I'll ever have to. I didn't do anything wrong. While President Trump said campaign fundraising had skyrocketed, he said, you know, it's an unwelcome development. He says, nobody wants to be indicted. He says, I don't care that my poll numbers went up by a lot. I don't want to be indicted. I've never been indicted. I went through my whole life. Now I get indicted every 2 months. It's been political. And, you know, I got to tell you, Trump is very tough. I'm not sure anybody, you know, that I could imagine in this world would be able to survive the onslaught that he has survived over these last several years and say, I'll do it again. He repeatedly invoked the Presidential Records Act. Trump remarks came as he flew between speeches. Waltine Nauta, his personal valet and assistant, also got charged. And so Trump is staying in the race, vowing to continue on. Alina's telling us no plea deal. And of course, we'll be looking forward to covering it as it unfolds. Thank you, my friends, for liking this video. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.